welcome here to this presentation called Road to Growth, a framework of combining App Store optimization and paid user acquisition. What we have on the agenda for today is, first of all, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit and also introduce AppRadar, what we're doing over here at the company. Next, I'm going to give a brief introduction of why App Store optimization and paid user acquisition should be combined in an ideal user acquisition strategy for your mobile apps. And then we're going to jump into a hands-on framework, what you can do to combine App Store optimization, App Store advertising, as well as paid user acquisition to get really the maximum effort to grow your apps. And last but not least, there is also some time left for questions, and hopefully I also have answers to these. Good. My name is Krivernick. I'm the managing director and one of the co-founders of AppRadar. I would consider myself as a born marketer who was working in marketing long before Google Ads were a thing. I can look back at the experience of around 15 years in this area, and once apps and mobile games came out, I totally fell in love with the sector and this industry, and this is the reason why I'm standing here today. On my marketing track record, I can look back on managing a 15 million annual revenue affiliate marketing platform. I was launching the most successful European Kickstarter campaign in 2015. I launched an app to the App Store which reached 1 million downloads within 1 month without spending a €0 on marketing. And for our work at AppRadar, we have been luckily, also awarded with some international awards for the great work that we're doing there. At AppRadar, we want to enable best practices marketing for all businesses with apps. We do this by offering a self-service app marketing tool where everybody of you guys can sign up. Go over to appradar.com. You can create a free account over there, where we provide simplified analytics as well as standardized marketing workflows, really helping you to optimize your apps. If self-service isn't your thing and you're looking for a partner who can help you and really take over hands-on work for you, that's also something that we are offering with our in-house agency as well. But let's jump into the topic. Why is it important and what are we talking about? We're talking about the power of ASO in combination with paid user acquisition. Therefore, I think I'm saying this sentence since I started working in this industry 10 years ago. You need a solid ASO foundation to maintain a team of high-quality users for your apps through various channels that you're attracting. Because ASO is really the foundation, because it doesn't matter which kind of marketing activities, which kind of marketing campaigns you're running. At the end of the day, every user that somehow sees your ad, that somehow sees your app out there, will land on the App Store page, and this is the most important breaking point of the complete user acquisition funnel. So therefore, it is very important that App Store optimization should be the starting point of your strategy when you think about how can I scale up my app, how can I acquire multiple users. When talking about that, another bold statement, a paid-only CPI-driven approach, which I also heard today in some kind of coffee talks, that this is still a thing, while not monitoring organic in-stores, is really, it will lead to wrong assumptions and you will be burning money, you will be losing money. So therefore, it is really, really important that you always consider ASO as the center of all those user acquisition activities that you're doing. A little bit of calculation, very simplified to be honest. Yeah, let's think of we have a situation where we're spending the same budget on both scenarios. On scenario number 1, we can achieve a CPI of €1.20, but 80% of our installs are coming through paid channels. So this means we have 20% through organic, which leads to an efficient cost per install of, let's say, €1 rounded up. In scenario number 2, same budget once again, our CPI is now much higher. But the thing is, we're getting 30% of the in-stores through the paid user acquisition channels, while on the other hand, 70% through organic user acquisition. We will end up at an efficient CPI of 0.66 euros, which means the setup is nearly twice as efficient. And I think this is really the core topic here in the background, and why also looking at an efficient CPI is a very important thing that you should do. paid user acquisition will also help you to boost the power of your app, which will also lead to better keyword rankings, which once again will also lead to more organic in-stores. So this is really a very combined combination, which we will also check out in more detail what that means in the framework of growth. In this framework, we're going to have a look at 5 steps that you can do, that you can implement to really take your app from 0 to hero. We're going to look at each of the steps separately, and I will give you some insights of what you should look for and what you should do while working at each of these steps. This framework combines organic downloads, paid downloads, and in-app store conversion rate optimization to enable a constant stream of new users while also hitting your performance targets. So step number 1, as mentioned, is app store optimization. It is important, the goal is that you ensure that you use relevant keywords and that your product page is appealing. So on the one hand side, you want to be found on specific keywords that are relevant for your app. And on the other hand side, you want to convert the people that find your app within the app store, that land on your landing page, that they also finally download your app. So how should you do that? What are the key activities in this first step? Well, actually you should start by building up a keyword backlog for your app category. What that means is, or when you think of, okay, how should I do that? One of the things that you can actually do is check out apps of your competitors and try to look at which keywords are they optimizing for. Look at your ratings and your reviews, what people are telling about your app, and talk with your customers. So you should really come up with a big list of keywords that somehow describe what your app is focusing on. Next, it is time to identify focus keywords within this backlog. How you can do this is you should look at keywords that have a decent search volume. It's also very important that you do not come up with keywords that nobody's searching for, because that will also not lead to any organic in-stores, obviously. The keywords should you describe in a perfect way, ideally, so that people understand really, okay, that keyword and this app somehow fits together. And especially if you have a new app, your keywords should not be too competitive that you're targeting, because your app will simply not be powerful enough that you can achieve good rankings for those keywords. What you can do actually is you can identify keywords that you're already ranking for, maybe somewhere around the top 30 position, with the goal of pushing them into a top 10 position. And when talking about keyword optimization, one of the, I would say, super obvious things is that you should set up a keyword ranking monitoring and track your keywords, especially before you do the changes, because otherwise you will not be able to measure the impact of the changes that you did. Here's a screenshot from AppRadar. AppRadar can help you exactly with that. AppRadar can also help you clustering your keywords, like in this example, for example, into branded keywords, competitor keywords, or generic keywords, which will also be very useful once you start running Apple search ads, because then you can take over the same structure that you're already building up here and move it over to Apple search ads as well. Also, very important thing, when you identify keywords that you want to rank for, you obviously need to integrate them into your App Store listing, into your product page, and you also need to push it to the app stores. Otherwise, they will not be live, and otherwise you will not start ranking for those keywords. Once that is done, once your kind of initial base is built, it is time to start with paid user acquisition tests. Why you want to do this now, or what is here the main goal, is you want to accelerate insights gathering. Because the problem of App Store optimization is it is an amazing channel, but it takes endless until it starts really rolling off. So therefore you want to accelerate this with the help of paid user acquisition activities. What you need to do is you want to identify channels that support growth and bring relevant traffic to your App Store page. What we recommend is to start advertising on native channels, which means Apple search ads as well as Google universal app campaigns. And there you have, I would say, the closest relation from your app as well as to the advertisement channel in the background. What you can and should do is you should learn which keywords and also especially which messages are working the best. Here we're talking about should you speak in an emotional way? Should you speak in an fact-oriented way? Should you speak in a motivational way with your target audience out there, that you really catch their interest and that you also drive the conversions? One tip that we heard very often today, I would consider it as an expert tip, is that you can also set up custom product pages that will also help you to better identify which kind of messages are working the best. Once you do this, optimize those channels separately and identify specific learnings for each channel, because not every channel is the same. What this means is on Apple's search ad site, you can find out which keywords are working the best because it is a keyword-driven channel. And for on the other hand side, on Google App Campaigns, you can find out, for example, which creatives are working the best. When talking about which creatives are working the best and talking about messaging and talking about how should you actually transport your message, I brought here some examples for you. As we can see here, when looking at those ads, they are in a kind of emotional way. As we can see there are a lot of emojis, there are a lot of smiling people out there. The idea of this creatives is that once people see that, they kind of feel personally, or they get a good feeling and think, that looks interesting, learn more than a language is also kind of a bold statement. So this really also gets people going, that they want to click on the ad and that they want to explore what this app is actually about. Here are also some other examples. As we can see on the left-hand side, something reward-based ad. So download the app and you will get 15 euros, for example, if you take the time and explore the app. On the other hand side, Headspace, for example, is very strong in the collaboration space. Here with John Legend in this particular case, but probably some of you guys also know they have also a co-hosted show on Netflix. So this is also a way of what you can bring in. And on the other hand side, what we can see here at the ad of WhatsApp, it is very feature-based. And in terms of WhatsApp, very privacy and private and stay private, stores private, send private. So kind of you can see that they're putting a lot of effort in this direction. Here are some other examples as well. For example, you can combine also different forms with emotional as well as feature-based. Or also another thing that also is working quite well, depending on what your app is around, as we can see in the case of Bitdefender. If you play with the fear of your audience, you can also grab their attention in a lot of cases. Another example, Medela, also reward-based. You can also bring in a little bit of humor. Or as we can see here also in the example of TikTok, you can also show what your app is about and show some funny videos in your ads as well. Once you did this, once you set up your ads, you want to learn from your first initiatives. What you want to do is you want to find overlapping strengths as well as weaknesses from your organic as well as your paid user acquisition campaigns. What you want to do is you want to compare the channels and identify winning keywords on the one hand side, but also identify winning messages as well as creatives. When talking about keywords and messages, also here once again, look at each channel specifically, because each channel will give you different information that you should analyze and take into consideration and bring into your strategy. So on the one hand side, talking about App Store optimization, you want to find out for which keywords is your app already ranking in good positions. When talking about Apple search ads, you want to find out which keywords are converting people and also bringing in downloads. When talking about Google App Campaigns, you can also find out which messages are working the best and really trigger people to get going and download your app. When talking about creatives on Google USC side, you can also obviously take those learnings and should bring those learnings over to your App Store screenshots as well, because also here it is way easier to set up different ads with different creatives on Google Ads compared if you create different screenshots for your App Store, set there up A/B tests and so on and so forth. Because in the end of the day, you want to find out what is working the best. And so therefore, it is always a good tip to be fast to your learnings, that you don't have to wait too long until you receive the answer, so to say. As well as you can create a preview video with your best performing creatives as well. When talking about keyword optimization and this topic, also something that we heard here today very often, don't want to go in too much into detail, but obviously also the topic of keyword cannibalization, especially brand keyword cannibalization, is a topic. You should consider it. Personally, I would say I like being number one when somebody searches for my brand, but there are also other opinions out there, obviously. One thing that you can do when talking about comparing also different channels, and especially once you start spending more money, is you should kind of analyze those channels against each other and identify how they are performing. Here is a screenshot of a sample report, how this could look like. And also one very important thing where this all is kind of leading towards to is we're looking to accomplish an organic uplift when we combine our ASO efforts with our paid user acquisition efforts. In this example, what we can see here is that we have been spending 30% more, or we were acquiring 30% more on the paid user acquisition side, but we have been able to generate 22% more installs on the organic side, because paid user acquisition in this case was really a leverage for what was happening on the organic side, because we have also been able to rank on more competitive keywords, and also our keyword rankings went up once we were spending more money on the paid user acquisition side. Also a question that we heard today quite often is how can we divide search traffic on Apple side, because when we look into App Store Connect, we only see installs through search, and we are running Apple search ads. Who knows now how much installs are coming through organic search? Here is kind of the equation with the wording, so to say, of both tools. On the one hand side, App Store Connect, as well as Apple search ads, how you can easily calculate your really organic installs that are coming through search. Once you take this learning, it is time to deepen your strategy and to push your ASO to the next level. What does that mean? This means that you have been running ads, you have been gathering a lot of intelligence on what is working, how is your target audience also corresponding with the messages that you're sending out, are the best messages actually, what is driving the most conversions. Adjust your keywords as well as your messages based from the findings that you have been able to gather from your ads. As well as adjust your creatives in apps, and as well as in your App Store product page. Always try to find out what was working the best. I mean, it's quite logical, I would say. Take what was working the best and incorporate through your channels, so to say, as well as to your App Store listing. One important thing now that it's step number 4 is we have already been running some ads. We have been able to actually generate more downloads, which also means that we are able to push rankings on relevant keywords, as well as we will be able to rank on more competitive keywords, which we have not been able to rank for in the beginning, because we were simply not getting enough downloads. So this is also very important that in this step, it is time to target more competitive keywords, which also hopefully have a higher search volume, which will also lead to more organic traffic for your apps. Scale your best performing campaigns and channels to grow further, as well as optimize for the efficient CPI, which is the combination of your organic user acquisition efforts as well as of your paid user acquisition efforts through higher organic share. Last but not least, evaluate the key results and build the basis for the next iteration. This is also very important because we're now talking about App Store optimization and user acquisition, paid user acquisition. In some companies, these are 2 different departments, which I don't understand, to be honest. But therefore, it is very important that those people then need to talk to each other, and they also need to share the findings that they had on each of their specific channels. How you can or should do this is you should set up weekly or monthly growth meetings where you bring those people together and where they really share this information with each other, because this will be the basis for further iterations. Analyze and adjust your strategy based on the combined data of organic and paid user acquisition. In other words, do more of what is working well and throw away what is not working good, and ideally try to find out why it is not working good, so you can also take this into consideration for further iterations. And when talking about bringing more people on a table, it is also very important that you somehow create a standardized reporting structure that everybody kind of agrees on, can align on, and that you're always following, that it will be also easy for you to measure the success and also talk about the iterations and analyze their impact. This is, for example, how a very high-level report in this case could look like. On the right-hand side, it is a case for one of our customers where we have been able to, in less than 3 months, double the revenue and get 150% more installs by exactly taking into this tactic. And what we can see on the right-hand side is really the organic visibility within the app stores, split up over different keyword ranking positions, and as we can see here, there was really good growth in the background, and the app was, I would say, mainly carrying nowadays through the organic channel. Once this is done, now comes the tricky, challenging, or time-consuming part, however you want to see it. You can obviously take exactly what I said from the beginning and scale this through different markets, through different languages, as well as bring other user acquisition channels as well. And this will help you to further boost the visibility of your app in specific countries and markets out there. Thank you very much for your time and for listening to this. I can say here kind of a last slide. Yeah. First of all, if you want to sign up for AppRadar, do this. You can use the promo code APS London. You get 30% off for the first 3 months. You can also send me an email and have the chance to win a free audit of your app. And I think the last slide, by the way, we are hiring as well. So yeah, if anybody's looking for a job in user acquisition or app store optimization, we're always looking for good people. Thank you, guys.
Just a tiny one.
Yeah, sure.
Brand traffic on our site. Is it worth bidding for number 1 positions, or is it worth bidding a little bit less so you avoid cannibalization?
I mean, I think this is really a very philosophical question, and I think it mainly depends on your marketing budget at the end of the day. If you can afford to be number 1 on your brand keyword, I would recommend to do it, to be honest. Yeah. It also depends a little bit on your competitors. If it's very clear who you are, so to say, for example, if you're Netflix, probably you don't have to be always, you know, like aim for, I need to be number 1 ASA position on Netflix because people know my brand. So therefore, I think it really depends a bit on the situation. If you're in a very competitive market and people tend to mismatch your app also with competitors. So for example, if you think of, I don't know, calorie counters or something like that, there it is, I think, very important that you be number 1 on your brand then.
Thank you.
On the paid acquisition side, what are you guys using in the app to track cost install at the moment? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I would say depending on various clients that we're working with, a kind of high-level summary would be that Adjust as well as AppsFryer are kind of the most used MMPs, at least for our clients out there. There are also some other smaller ones. Branch, for example, is also kind of, they just made a big investment round coming from the United States. But I would say Adjust and AppsFryer seem to be the kind of market leaders. Any other questions? Good, guys. Then I think we're through for this session here. Thank you very much once again. And yeah, see you upstairs for a beer, hopefully. Cheers.